Well, the full list of Australia's richest 250 people will be published tomorrow in The Australian. Mining magnates still dominate the upper ranks of the list, but there are more and more women joining the list. Business journalist John Stensolt, editor, joined me a little earlier. John, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Well, which billionaires round out the top 10 of tomorrow's list?
Right, so Gina Rinehart's at number one, so $50 billion, which is an amazing number. Would you believe, Shari, it's probably being a little bit conservative given how the, I guess how the success of her Hancock prospecting has gone. Then you've got Nicola Forrest and Andrew Forrest at 2 and 3, so around about $37 billion between them. So there's a bit of a gap there. So Anthony Pratt and his family about $27 billion. Harry Triguboff about $26 billion in number 5. He's probably the only guy in that top 10 who does a domestic-only business. The two Atlassian founders are Mike Cannon-Brookes and Scott Farquhar, around about that $22 billion mark as well. Clive Palmer's around the $22 billion mark. Kerry Stokes, big drop down to $11 billion. And then you've got Melanie Perkins and Cliff Obrecht from Canva. So they round out the top 10, $10.92 billion, so almost $11 billion.
Interesting to see Nicola Forrest in that top 10. It's the first time, that's my understanding, that she's been in that list. Tell us how they worked out the combined wealth after their split.
Yeah, sure. So they have actually split. So what's it been? About 4 or 5 months now that since they've announced that they were separating. So they're still married. They hold all their wealth together, but it is now a 50-50 split, plus a little bit more for Nicola. She's got her own Fortescue shares. So look, otherwise they're keeping all their Tatarang, which is their private company, together at the moment. That's the company that owns R.M. Williams and a whole bunch of agricultural things and other brands. But they're working together, but they're separate. That's basically what they're telling us in their wealth terms at the moment. It includes philanthropy as well. So look, let's see what happens over time, but that's how it is right now.
And John, what about some of the new faces in this year's Rich list?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really interesting part about it. There's a lot of new young names. So there's a couple of guys from the Gold Coast, High Smile, the toothpaste brand, so Alex Tomic and Nick Merkovic. They're worth about $600 million. There's some two ladies down in Tasmania who own Bluntstone, do you believe? A couple of sisters, they're 83, 77, Anne Routley. They are, would you believe, worth $600 million, and no one really knows about it.
Wow.
Brian White from Ray White as well, he's on the list for the first time. There's cryptocurrency magnates, there's all sorts of other different people as well.
I mean, you say cryptocurrency magnates, but hasn't crypto gone down in value massively over the past year?
It went down in value massively and it's come back up again. But the cryptocurrency guys that we've got on the list are about gambling. So they're the ones that, so Ed Craven and Tim Heath are two notable examples. Tim Heath's a new guy who's on the list. He's based in Estonia, but he's Australian, worth about $2.15 billion. But it's gambling. So he basically runs a gambling company, but the people that bet with him do it with crypto. Now, it's banned in Australia, so you can't do it here at the moment under government laws. There's lots of people around the world that can. So even though he's Australian, he's actually making his money overseas from it.
John, you work on this list for months. Can you tell us about some of your methodology? How accurate is the list? Do you have to rely on these billionaires to cooperate?
Well, a lot of them do actually on background, Shari. I reckon, probably 4 out of 5, let's say 80% of them actually do engage with us and talk to us. Some of it's a cursory, thanks for letting us know, maybe a little bit of a no comment, but there's a lot that actually give us a lot of information. Their sort of mentality is, well, if you're going to do it, you may as well get it right, at least in their minds. And look, changes in laws in recent years has made a lot of the private companies have to lodge their accounts with ASIC every year, and that certainly helps me out. But yeah, look, a lot of them will be reading it first thing tomorrow morning, I guarantee it. They might not necessarily like it, but they certainly tolerate it these days at the very least.
And are there more young entrepreneurs on the list this year than we've seen in previous years?
Yeah, there's certainly a changing dynamic in the list. There's more technology people or people using retail. There's more female entrepreneurs like the Zimmerman sisters, for example, the Zimmerman, fashion brand, Tanya Roston with DeCuba as well. She's a recent arrival on the list in the last couple of years. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people on the list that, look, basically make their money around the world, but they live in Australia. So if you think about it, with the internet and technology, social media, they can build a brand here in Australia, but sell most of their wares or their goods overseas. And that's what's happened with a lot of these new companies like High Smiles and Canva. Now, Atlassian, obviously, that's been around for a little while, but those guys are still in their early 40s. I mean, so there's younger people than ever making more money than ever, and it's because of the rise in technology and globalisation through the internet.
Right, John Stenshall, thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations on doing such a thorough job. We look forward to seeing the full list tomorrow, seeing how the other half live.
Thanks, Shari.